All right, welcome to the program. We're going to be talking about all those things that you need to know about money to achieve financial freedom, financial independence, freedom. It's very interesting to me that the majority of people's lives, everybody you know, your mom, dad, friend, best friend, uncle, aunt, if you do the math, they're going to spend the majority of their life in the pursuit of one thing, whether or not they're materialistic or not. You know, people say, oh, I don't care about money, and some people love money, and a lot of people won't admit it, but nonetheless, you will spend the majority of your life by hours trying to make money. And I think everybody agrees with that. Unless you inherit a ton of money or somehow get lucky or, you know, live in the middle of the woods and live on subsistence farming or catching squirrels and deer, you're going to spend the majority of your life trying to understand this thing. Well, let me take that back. Not understand it, because that's what this is about. Because most people pursue something their whole life, but don't even know the most basic things. And if you think about that, if you step back from the matrix, how can you ever be good at something that you know nothing about? You know, imagine if you were an alien dropped in the middle of the United States or the middle of some huge country, and you were told to get married, but you don't know anything. Let's say you're trying to marry a woman or marry a man, but you know nothing about them. You've never met one. You've never actually observed one. What are the odds you're gonna pick the right person? They're very low, because at the end of the day, everything I do, the reason I've got books and book of the day, and maybe you've been in the 67 day, the 67 step mentor program, it's all about right here, knowledge. If you want to have a measure, or hopefully a great measure of financial independence, you have to get one thing right, and that's the knowledge of what money is. How does it work? And remember, in a world of 7.3 billion people, we no longer live in a bartering system. It's a complex system, but it's not as complex as people think. And so over the next weeks and months, what you and I are gonna be going through is a program that's gonna take you step by step, video by video. Most of the videos will be 15, 20 minutes. If you skip a few videos, or if you miss a few days, you're on vacation, don't worry about it, don't freak out. Remember the whole idea of the 67-day mentality. This is based on science, the most recent science from University College London. They found that the minimum, it's the minimum, not the maximum, that the average person needs to change, learn, transform their life is 67 days. So if it just takes you longer, don't freak out. If you're also in the 67 Steps Mentor program, you can do one of those one day and this one day. There's a lot of stuff. If you're reading a lot, if you go on one of the things you'll learn is what I call these thinking trips. If you go on a thinking trip and you don't have access to these videos, don't freak out, because it's a minimum of 67 days. But what that study also found is some people take longer. Some people take 18 months. Some people take 10 years. Hopefully it won't take you that long. So you're gonna get one of these videos released. At the end of each video, if you've been in any of my programs, you leave a comment that closes out this specific lesson, then you move on to the next one. And it's just boom, boom, boom. Now, the beauty of this, for you to understand money, what's the upside? What's the reward? Well, the reward is beyond most people's belief, because just a quick reminder, you've got the pyramid here of money. And I call this, if you remember, Donald Trump debt, because at one point, he was $7 billion in debt. Okay? And my maid just went by there, ran by. Donald Trump was below zero, he said. $7 or $9 billion in debt. He said he met a homeless person and he realized that homeless person had $7 or $9 billion more than him. So maybe you're watching this, maybe you are at zero or below zero. Like I said, if you heard my story, I was sleeping on a couch. I had $47, which I probably had some credit card debt, so I might have had $47 in my bank account, but I was below zero, right? Next, you might be at this level that I call scarcity. And this is where most of the world is. They're either in debt or in scarcity. And scarcity, according to science, Daniel Kahneman won a Nobel Prize, and he said it's right around, if you're making less than 70,000. Now, obviously it depends on what country, but most countries, he said about that level, okay? So 6,000 a month. So if you're watching this and you're at that level, the next level is the one we want to get to. And you might have touched on that before in your life. Financial freedom, independence. And I remember when I reached this, boy, that was a big time. Of course, no one had laid it out for me like this. Unfortunately, I would have gotten, once again, when you have knowledge, you know something, you move much quicker. Had somebody laid out this simple thing for me when I was in 5th grade, 6th grade, it would have been so much quicker of a path. And one of the things that we're doing here in this 67-day program that you're in, this one about money and financial freedom, is we're accelerating the learning curve. Time is short. You don't want to be learning this in 10 years when you could have learned it in 67 days. So hopefully, we're going to make a lot of progress here in the next 67 days. And eventually, there's some other programs that I have that maybe you'll get into. You get into prosperity. That's a whole nother level. But we're focusing on these levels here. So maybe you're here, we want to move you up. Maybe you're here, we want to move you up. If you're already at some level of financial freedom, keep moving you up to prosperity. That's another program that I have, the 67-day. It's more of an entrepreneur program. And then we have up here, the final is wealth and impact. So those are other programs maybe you'll do, but this is the most fundamental and real, and when I say fundamental, I don't mean basic, really the most important one, if you ask me. And if you ever think fundamentals aren't important, just remember, I went to this conference with Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Charlie Munger. These guys are controlling about 500, 600, 700 billion, $500 billion in their companies, and they're always talking about the basics. Michael Jordan, when he played basketball, his coach Phil Jackson always had him doing the basics. So basics to me get me excited when somebody says, let's go back to basics. A lot of people think going back to basics means some boring stuff, and that's because of the messed up education system we have where they grind. People think basics is like 5 + 5 over and over writing on a chalkboard. This stuff will be more advanced than probably you're going to expect. But it's the fundamentals. You lay the groundwork of this pyramid correctly, and you can keep moving up. There's a famous saying that says, there was 2 people, one built their house on the sand, and when you build on the sand, guess what? It appears everything's good. Your house is there, you're in your house, you're on the 3rd floor sleeping. But it said when the wind and the rain comes, that house fell over. And they say there's another person who built on the rock. And when you build on the rock, the strong fundamentals, the wind and the rain comes and doesn't tip over. And you saw that in 2008.